I'm Eric Loy, and welcome to Eric Loy Interviews. On this podcast, we talk with folks from the VTuber community on their channels, their talents, their stories, where they come from, and their plans for the future. Jack Jinseki joins us. Hi.
Hello.
Hey, nice to talk to you again. First time we talked was on your interview show. So
yeah.
So I was like, nah, let's get him over here because I want to hear what's going on with what he's doing here. So if you could introduce yourself real quick to everybody.
Hi, everybody. I'm Jack Jinseki. I have an interview show where I interview other VTubers, VTubers of all kinds, and I pretty much do the same thing as Eric Loy here does, except much less prolifically.
Well, that's because I'm nuts, so you don't really want to follow. You don't need to follow that, that's for sure. But your format is really interesting and cool. Where you've got the video going, and you're kind of taking a walk out in the woods with everybody.
Yeah. Well, I designed everything in the interview to. I didn't want it to be flashy. I'm not a huge fan of like the flashy graphic thing.
Yeah.
When I created it, I wanted it to be something that I personally liked.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted the background to be quiet nature sounds, because I don't know about you, but if I'm watching somebody else do a stream, I like to play my own music.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Rather than listen to the same 2-minute audio clip looping over and over again.
It can drive you right up a tree. It does that. Yeah. Sometimes I'll just I have music tastes all over the place. So if I'm editing or putting something together, I'll have one type of music or another playing in the background. Usually some type of classical, but sometimes it's classical rock too. Or country.
Do you have a favorite composer?
Bach.
Yeah, Bach is pretty good.
Yeah, well, the Boston public channel out there has a dedicated channel that's only Bach music to stream.
Only Bach.
And I'm like, well, that pretty much settles it.
You know what it might be? I know that there, because I'm from the Boston area.
Mm-hmm.
There's a classical station, 99.5, and they do all classical. And I know that through their website, I think they have a couple different stations available. So it wouldn't surprise me at all to hear that it was them.
Yep.
And they have like an all Bach station.
Yeah, it's their Bach Hour show that they've just put together over and over again. And every once in a while, I listen to their early music channel too, which I kind of like. But I actually have in one of my hobbies, I've actually heard that station here on my car radio in the middle of the summer. We just one day we're getting all of the stations from the Boston area, which was pretty hilarious. In the middle of Illinois.
Yeah,
it's kind of cool. But I'm here to talk about you, not me. Stop interviewing me, interviewer. I see what you're trying to do. So when did you get started with this VTuber thing and the interview thing as well, and why?
Well, the whole thing started last year. See, I've been in the dating market for a while now, and I went on a couple dates. Total disaster. I'm basically a mole man. I live in a cave, and I don't have any social skills to speak of. So don't worry, I don't look like a mole man. The Inquirer hasn't contacted me yet.
That's right.
But I wanted to figure out a way to learn to communicate with people better, especially in the context of like a date of a sort.
Right.
And because there are just so many ways. It's sort of like you can talk to someone and say something that sounds like a question, but really it's more meant to just shut down conversation.
Oh yeah.
Like if you ask if you ask someone, how's your day been? There, you say good, and that's the end of the conversation. There's no
Yes,
real way to continue that.
that one word answer just shuts you right off.
Exactly. And so one of the reasons that I got into this is I wanted to learn to communicate with better people better and converse in a meaningful way.
Yeah.
Uh, so I started this last year because I'm an anime junkie.
Hmm.
For the record, no, I don't read the manga, though I know that's the normal logical next step for most people. Uh, but yeah, I saw these people doing this online, and I thought it looked really interesting. I'd been watching Lucius Merriweather for
Right.
some time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I really thought that the it was very interesting.
Hmm.
I thought it was very different, and I think that very deep down, if you were to ask every anime fan, they all want to be a cartoon to a certain extent. Uh,
Yeah. Just like I watch I watched baseball and I wanted to be an outfielder.
yeah, and when you were and when we were kids, I mean, this is all very recent phenomena. It's within the last decade,
Yeah.
and so before that, there was no realistic way to be a cartoon.
No.
And now there is. As absurd as it sounds to say out loud, you can be a cartoon now.
Welcome to the 2020s.
It's all very strange, but it's exciting.
Yeah. It is. And all the people, all the different stories behind it. You've done enough of these to know now. Everybody's got such
Yep.
differing reasons for being on, different backgrounds, different talents,
Mm.
and from everywhere. It's for someone who's got some curiosity, and I know you do because you do these very well.
Mm.
It's
Thank you.
intoxicating, isn't it?
Mm. It's it's very it's the way that I ask some of my questions. I ask a lot of the same questions from interview to interview,
Mm-hmm.
but there is also purpose behind that as well,
Mm-hmm.
because number one, it's difficult to come up with a whole bunch of interesting questions knowing very little about the person you're about to speak to.
Right.
um, but also at the same time, it's also entertaining to see uh, what the differences are between people.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, in this style, it's very easy to understand the differences between people. But also, if you have it's almost like a scientific measure of a sort, where you ask two different people the exact same question and to see what the differences are.
Absolutely. And then instead of relying on getting the answers you want, which is what a lot of network television people are doing and that type of thing, you are looking to get the answers that are actually the answers and then react to what they're saying. And
Yes.
that creates not an interview necessarily, but a conversation, which is so much better than
Yes.
getting two-word soundbite answers from everybody. I mean,
I
if you get a good soundbite, good. But I mean, it's naturally happening.
mm. I encourage everyone. These questions are only meant to be icebreakers.
Hmm.
Please go off topic, go off on tangents.
Hmm.
It's a better way to get to know you.
Absolutely, it is, and I think it's very interesting that the reasons why you've done this to kind of teach yourself how to initiate and get into conversations with people and kind of break down that wall of questioning and mistrust or a defense right away and get to the human part of them. And that's it. Some people can do it naturally, others it's a learned skill. And I hate those people who can do it naturally. It's just too easy for them, dang it. But it's once you do get that you sometimes the person changes 180 degrees and they go from a 1 2 word answer to somebody that you end up doing a 2 hour show with, and
Yeah.
that's great to break that egg and see what's
Mm.
inside. Um, so when you got your first chance to do this, to do the interview thing,
Mhm.
how nervous were you going in, and what did you expect to happen?
Um, well, unfortunately, I had no idea what I expected to happen.
Mm.
Um, the first person I interviewed, his name is Jono Funk. He's a
Mhm.
VTuber, obviously.
Mhm.
And if you aren't subscribed to him, anyone watching this, you should definitely subscribe to him. He's one of the best. He's one of the best I've ever seen. Um, and the thing about Jono is that he's a perfection artist. Uh,
Mm.
he's very particular. He knows exactly what he wants something to be like. And so the first time I did it, the format was very different.
Mhm.
Uh, I didn't give him the questions in advance like I do with everyone now.
Mhm.
And it was very awkward. The conversation was stilted, and we had to go. He actually requested we go back and do it again. And I gave him the questions in advance.
There,
And
that is a
sorry,
perfectionist.
yes. And it was very interesting because I learned two things from that. Number one, it is not a bad thing to give your questions in advance to the other person because it it's still going to sound fresh by the time it gets to them because it's not like they're going over 2 hours worth of material,
Hmm.
or in my case it's probably like 45 to an hour's worth of material in their heads and repeating it
Right.
verbatim.
Hmm.
They're just It's just to sort of give them a chance to kind of figure, okay, what's this all about?
Right. 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 You're giving them a
And
sampling, really, to go through,
yeah.
and with all of these types of things, it's always your mileage may vary for how things go.
Yeah.
Um, I always I don't like writing questions down. I
Mm.
sometimes I write the pronunciations down because some of these names are out there. Like, okay, I don't know how to do that with five straight vowels. So we'll work with it. But for some people, it's like the way you're doing it. I'm gathering you're using it more as an icebreaker to give them a little more sense of comfort that you're not going to, you know, ask them about their social security number or anything like that, their criminal backgrounds or anything along those lines. Um, but once that guest gets comfortable, that the whole everything changes, and it just
Yes.
it becomes time just runs away from you.
That is one of the things that I've had to tell myself all the time when I do an interview, is that a lot of the things that we do from day to day feel like work,
Hmm.
and that I have to tell myself, this is not work, this is fun.
Hmm. Hmm.
And you should have fun with it, because if you're not having fun at all, then you shouldn't be doing it.
Hmm. Yeah.
And so once you kind of get over that hump, it's a lot easier to kind of throw yourself into it and just have a fun time with it.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's all brilliant stuff. I mean, it is a question because if I was we were doing an interview and you were all uptight and upset for some reason, and you were the host. Well,
Mm-hmm.
how do you think I'm going to answer you? Uh, because the other person in the interview is going to pick that up, and they're immediately going to get tensed and their hackles will be raised. And then you think about the listeners, the audience. They got, well, now these are two people that are upset, and now they're upset and not having any fun listening to it either. It's it is even though you've got the video going in the background, it's still very much an audio um, medium,
Mm.
and you have to portray so much in that audio medium that and the people listening have got the whole picture in their head no matter what's going on. uh,
Yes.
and you've got to show interest, and you've got to show curiosity, and that's what draws the same thing, in my
It
opinion.
and Oh, I totally agree. And what's more, everyone can tell if you're not having fun.
Mm.
If you're there and you're miserable, I mean, you might be different because you're a professional, and
Oh,
so you know
I'm
how to
old.
kind of push the crap aside, I'm sure. But for the casual, for the filthy casual, uh, as they say, um, if you're not having a fun time doing your shtick,
Hmm.
the audience can feel it. They absorb that, and then they don't have fun.
Oh yeah, yeah. And one of the things that you can look on is even the big giant corporate VTuber folks.
Hmm.
I'm talking like the ones overseas and you put it on billboards. You see them do a stream where they're extremely tired. They're they've just had it. They're just
Hmm.
and these people have ridiculous schedules to begin with.
Yeah.
And they're not necessarily wanting to be there, and you could tell they're going through the motions.
Hmm.
And it's just not, no matter how entertaining they are, there's always going to be that underlying current of, whoa, they don't want to be here.
Hmm.
And if they don't want to be here, why do I want to be here?
The best thing that those people can do, this is just my guess, is to just throw caution to the wind and just say, you know what, I'm exhausted, so I'm going to be a bit silly.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And some of them are very good at that. I mean, they have a communication with their chat and their followers that they can come on and say, "Look, I'm just beat to death. Let's let's throw it in the fan and see where it lands." And then they go with them. It's to see how people handle it is one way to do it. But if you're going to go on and you're going to be miserable, don't spread the misery. Um,
Yeah.
Especially if you're trying to build an audience, that doesn't seem to make any sense. Um,
At at the end of the day, we all have to remember our station as dancing monkeys.
yes, exactly. Whether they're your monkeys or somebody else's monkeys, they got to keep dancing. So, I mean, you're not just doing interviews; you're doing other things too online. Um, I see we have the links to your stuff coming up on the the description for the video. Um,
Yep.
you obviously do enjoy the interviews quite a bit, but
Yes.
would you rather have the channel basically with that, or would you rather do more gaming and that type of thing with other VTubers?
Well, the gaming thing, it's 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 fairly new.
Hmm.
I'm not used to doing game streams. The reason that I'm doing it is because a lot of times after the interview ends, I feel kind of like I just introduced this person into my life and then dropped them.
Yeah.
And I felt kind of shitty about that. Pardon my language.
I agree. I understand that completely. Yeah.
And so I wanted to figure out a way that I could keep in contact with these people because they're really nice people. I've
Hmm.
met a lot of really nice people that I like a lot,
Yeah.
and that's where the gaming streams kind of came from because I want to stay in contact with them. I want to keep communicating with them, and so that's all kind of recent. That was just my idea, and it sounds like a oh, you want to keep in contact with them, so you just keep so you play games with them. It seems kind of obvious, but you know, I'm an engineer. Nothing is obvious to me. Uh, but
They admit it. They admit it.
yeah, never underestimate an engineer's ability to miss the most obvious thing.
Yes. That to miss the most obvious thing, and instead from taking something to A to B, they'll go through C, D, E, F, G, and H before getting to B, and it'll still work though. But it's just their spin on it.
Yeah, but I a lot of what I've been doing so far has been kind of it's almost utilitarian in nature
Mm,
doing the interviews.
yeah.
And while and the having fun bit, it's a very nice it's what I would call a very nice fringe benefit.
Yeah, it is.
Uh,
It is. To get to know these folks and realize that I talk to them all the time, the VTubers, about uh, realizing that their audience keeps coming back for them, not
mm,
necessarily the games they're playing or their things they're doing. And so now you get to the point where after you've done several of these interviews, they're coming on because they want to be interviewed by you.
mm,
They've seen something, so now it's that in its own right is fulfilling, but it also is a responsibility. Um, you want to go out there and give the folks listeners a good show, so to speak, but you also want to do good for them, and that involves kind of following up every once in a while. I'll go lurk in somebody's streams or say hello or re tweet something that post something that they've got going on. Uh, Support them whenever they can, and I always tell them, if you got something that you need a little round troll from East Central Illinois to do, I'll try to help. Uh,
mm.
and it's building that little bit of bridge between everybody, and you don't ever want to burn them. None of them.
I think that speaking of building bridges, I think that one of the most rewarding parts about doing something like this is that there's a little bit of crossover
Mm-hmm.
between the people that you interview. And
Yes.
so they get to meet each other. And then you get to see them meeting each other, and you kind of get to go like, that's something I did.
Yeah. Isn't that nice? That's
Oh, it's really nice.
yeah. I'm kind of I do have a Discord. I don't mention it a lot on the interview, but that's how I set up a
Mm-hmm.
lot of the interviews. We're doing this over Discord, for crying out loud. But
Mm-hmm.
the the community on the channel has done does a great job of supporting each other, and they do this organically because I don't know what I'm doing with it. And so they're getting collaborations together and checking up on each other, see how they're doing. That's just wonderful. That's just nice to know. Um,
Mm.
and that there are a few of them that have the same type of interests, but again, they're all different people, and
Yep.
and this is the reason why I don't do like old sports guys in politics like I did when I was in radio. It's such a bigger, wider audience. Um,
Mm.
so many folks have overcome things or continue to overcome things or trying to, or they've found something later in life that they didn't know they could do, and it feels good to promote that and
Yes.
and gives look what this person has done. You can do this. I mean, it's
The
but of course,
the only reason, oh sorry.
go ahead.
The only reason that you haven't done it yet is because you haven't done it.
That's right. That's right. Now I am an old man, so I can say like I'm too old for this stuff. But I can point and having that old man privilege, I can point to you young people and say, why haven't you done this stuff? Um, so, but no, it's there's inspiration to be taken by so many of these folks, and
Hmm.
I want to recognize that and have
Yeah.
that recognized. It was nice to see the VTuber awards that came out here recently, the smaller VTuber awards, and to see
Hmm.
so many people that I have interviewed got mentioned on there as being nominated. Now,
I actually missed this. I didn't see that.
yeah, I didn't know it was happening, and I don't promote one over the other, and I keep you know don't want to play favorites or anything like that because there's so
Hmm.
many now. But it was just nice to see so many people getting mentions of it. That's the type of support you can't buy for
Hmm.
VTubers getting started. And
It's
go ahead.
it's one thing to it's one thing for you to go on to one of those things and nominate yourself, but for someone else to go there and nominate you, I think is really special.
Yeah, yeah. It's kind of odd. Someone nominated Richard Nixon. I mean, he's not even alive. But if I watch Futurama, and maybe he's got his head up there somewhere. Um, but everybody, it's just to see that little wind beneath their wings, is
Hmm.
is something. Fly, fly, my little hatchlings, fly.
I,
That's
I kind of want I kind of want someone to make a Richard Nixon VTuber now, and he can just pop on the stream by saying "sock it to me."
I am
Uh,
not a crook. You can't do
Sorry, I interrupted you.
you can't do that with radio people. Radio, virtually everybody, all of us who are in radio, one time or another, we're a crook. We take anything that's free. We'll take that. The shirt doesn't fit, don't care. I'll use it as a wash rag. I've got it.
I mean, you're from Illinois. You may have legitimate ties to the crooks, if you
Oh,
know what I mean.
you know, I haven't said this on my stuff yet, but the owner of the radio station that I worked for 25 years, there is a book out about her
Hmm.
and her ties to the mob,
Hmm.
which is hilarious, and I believe 100% to be true. Knowing how this woman was and how incredible her life story is, I imagine that's 100% true. It ties her to everything from the crime families in Italy to the Kennedy assassination. And I'm like, you know what?
Wow.
I choose to believe that universe.
And
she,
I know that some information came out recently, and I'm curious to hear what happens when all of that gets disseminated, because I I want to know if they know what happened to Dorothy Kilgallen
yeah,
from What's My.
yeah. That's the things. The whole everything about the actual thing has been covered to death, and even to the point where Oliver Stone made up an entire movie about it, basically. Um, but the side stuff, that's the interesting part, and
Hmm.
the side routes to me anyway. But I have been actually listening to and thank the stars for YouTube. Um,
Hmm.
Listen to the radio and television coverage of that in 1963.
Hmm.
You don't have everybody in their cell phones reporting from the scene. You have
Hmm.
networks trying their damnedest to use that little bit of satellite time and the bad phone lines to get as much information as possible, and it varies so wildly from
Hmm.
from the president is going to be fine to how bad it actually ended up being. That
Hmm.
you I don't know whether you get an appreciation for how the news is done these days, or you get nostalgic for the way the news used to be done. But
Hmm.
kids out there, look up your history and relive it like we did back then. Although I wasn't quite
Yeah.
alive when the Kennedy thing happened, but it wasn't me. Believe me, I couldn't have shot that straight.
I, I have news for you. It was me. I shot the Zapruder film. Uh,
And that's that. If that never showed up, if no one had that film, no one wouldn't even have a controversy for
I
it.
don't know. I mean, there are still people who think that Elvis is alive, so I don't know.
Well, there's some people in my extended family, and yeah, there's a reason why they're extended. Um, the now, dang it, you slipped me off again. Listen to this guy; he's doing this all the time to me. I'm trying to interview you. Stop. Listen to that. So what?
Gotcha.
So what do you want to do with it? Obviously, you want to get more people on. You do a great job with it.
Hmm.
You want to get more
Thank
people
you.
find out their stories. Um, have you got any ideas to kind of tweak the format or do different things with it?
No, I kind of, I would actually kind of like to keep it similar.
Mm,
I want it to be the same, but I want to add on top of it. I want to layer on top of it.
yeah,
So as of yet, everything except the model itself is basically homegrown.
yeah.
Um, the video I shot myself. It's from a trail in southern New Hampshire.
Hmm.
The audio was taken separately because uh, I didn't want people to hear the huffing and puffing of a 30-year-old man over my interviews.
It's
Uh,
better than the wheezing in the ambulance coming for me if I try to do something like that. Walking around, having no help. Um,
yeah. Interestingly, I had to buy a special setup just to get the audio.
oh,
The video is shockingly easy, and you
yeah,
probably have the equipment to do it yourself right now. It's just your phone.
yeah, yeah. That's what kills me because when I was in did my little college thing, we edited videotape,
Hmm.
and that is so. I don't know why anybody wanted to do that. It was so uh, painful to do, and now people are like point
Hmm.
point point, and they're done.
Yeah,
Like, oh,
it's shockingly easy. And here's the thing: I didn't realize that the cell phone was so phenomenally good at capturing video.
yeah,
I bought a Handycam, like a modern digital version, because they
yeah,
used to have the Sony Handycam, and it had the little tapes in it.
hmm,
Nowadays, it's functionally the same, but you use an SD card instead of the tapes, and it's all digital.
yeah,
Um, and then I went out just on a hunch, took my cell phone, captured footage of that outside. I compared the two. The cell phone's better than the Handycam.
yeah.
So I'm like, what the hell did I buy this thing for?
Suckered.
Yeah, that's how they get you.
Yeah, that's how they get you.
Uh, and then I had to. My father apparently he bought this. It's a stabilizer. It's got a special name for it. I forget what it's called.
Tripod.
Uh, no, no. It's for stabilizing like a camera in motion.
Oh, okay, okay.
They first developed it around the time that I think it was around the time that they made the movie The Shining,
Hmm.
because you might remember from the steady cam shot, yeah, the steady cam shots of
Right,
like
right,
going through
right.
the hallways and going
Yeah,
through the maze. Uh, it's similar principle, but now it's all electronic, and so it's electronically stabilized. I got one of those.
yeah.
Went outside, did a nature walk for 1 hour, worked out beautifully,
It
and I
does.
use that in the background of all my shots.
Yeah.
Uh, the audio, on the other hand, I had to get this special device to that was like weather resistant, and I had to get microphones, and I had to build my own rig to strap it to a tree because it can't be moving. Um, and the audio on that, I I don't know how to get better audio because I had to do it in my backyard, had to go in afterwards, listen to the whole thing and edit out any parts. And since it's in my backyard, you can hear anything the neighbors are doing.
Oh yeah.
Uh,
Lawnmower
yeah,
starts
so
up
that,
and the
yes.
dogs bark at that sort of thing. But
Oh,
it's
yeah.
like audio editing is so much easier though. I mean, well, it is for me because I did it for 100 years. But
Mm,
it's to me it's a lot. First of all, I don't want my face on anything. No one that wants that to see my face on things. Um,
hmm,
and it's just so I'm very comfortable with it, with having the microphone in front of me and talking after all this time.
hmm.
You have become very comfortable with it as well. Uh,
Yes.
folks hear it very easily now. How long did it take for you to reach that comfort level with what you're doing?
Um, well, I don't think that I'm ever going to be fully comfortable with it.
Mm.
There's always that little bit of paranoia that you're in front of a live mic and you don't realize it, uh,
Yeah,
and you say the wrong thing. Uh,
I got
a
tails. I'm not
specific
telling.
a, a specific instance of a YouTuber comes to mind that I'm not going to talk about here. Uh, I will say if anyone is familiar with the initials DSP, they
Mm,
might know what I'm talking about.
right, right.
But
Yes.
anyway, uh, I think that it took me maybe a few months for me to finally get comfortable.
Yeah.
Because I've been doing stuff in the background. I didn't start being online. My presence online did not start with these interviews. I had been
Right.
doing some other stuff before that.
Yeah.
And that's where I mostly learned to get comfortable. Obviously, this adjustment, I had to learn to get comfortable with that, but I already had familiarity with it. So um, I would say it probably took me just a few months
Yeah.
to really get over it. I'm finally getting to the point that I can listen to my own voice without feeling nauseous.
That's something that hits you even when you're old. Like, oh, I
Oh,
sound like that. If I could turn it off in my head, it'd be even better. But
I heard that. Oh, sorry.
go ahead.
I heard that. Oh, what's it? The actor who play in Star Wars.
James Earl Jones.
No, no, no. He's in the new Star Wars. He plays the
Oh,
antagonist in the new Star Wars.
okay, I know who you're talking about.
The young guy
Yeah.
that flips out in the movies.
Yeah.
I heard that he can't actually listen to his own voice or watch any of his own reels. He will leave the room, and
Mm,
he did that in the middle of several interviews. And I thought, you know what? He's a professional. He should be able to do this, but at the same time, I kind of get it.
yeah. 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 There's just the cringe level is very high. Uh, Personally, it's like I didn't do this to hear me.
Yeah.
And he's like, I could have done that. It's also the artist thing. If you're one of those folks who are the artist perfectionist, like the person you interviewed, the first person, and you hear
Mm.
something wrong, you want to go fix it,
Yes.
and get it done. But that, while there's always some editing involved with this stuff, for me, you don't want to take the human part out of it too,
Mm.
along with it, because otherwise you just have two AIs talking to each other, and it's of course that's what's coming next. So be ready for that. Um, but it's
Gross.
yeah, yeah. Well, unless it's the neuros going, which is kind of funny. It's other than that, I'm just glad that there's somebody else out there who has got this, and you've got your own angles and vision of doing this. You do a great job of it. I hope you absolutely
Thank you.
continue to do this, and and just keep flying with it. It's a great thing to see somebody else actually taking up a microphone and talking to people like they're humans, and
Mm.
and having good conversations with them. You do a great
Mm.
job with it, and keep it up.
Thanks. I appreciate that a lot.
Yeah, yeah. That's Jack Jinseki. We'll have all the links we've got for him up in the description for the interview. But I wouldn't be doing a a service without having Jack mention it for himself. So to go ahead and wrap things up with your own outro here, and go ahead and promote yourself as we wrap things up here.
Let's see. I was your host, Jack Jinseki. You can find all of my links in the description to this video, including to my Twitter and oh, whatever it's called, Twitter and what is it I do again? YouTube page. Be sure to check those out. And if you're not subscribed to me you should probably give it a try. I like to think I'm a nice guy. And with that, I was your host, Jack Jinseki, and I was joining Eric Loy. Bye-bye, everybody.
We're not doing a second take.
Okay.
Thank you for listening to Eric Loy Interviews. Join us again next time when we talk to another member of the always interesting VTuber community.